Hello and welcome to a tiny Tunnels and Trolls trip. This is my series of videos in which I play Tunnels and Trolls solo adventures. And I try to select solo adventures that can be played in a reasonably brief time period. So we're talking minutes in length instead of hours, because I don't have that kind of time generally. But yeah, sometimes you're literally teleporting into a situation in one of these teleport adventures. Like you could teleport into a dragon's lair and fight the dragon, and that's it. There's no reasonable plot or storyline or gradual buildup of, dangerous, more and more dangerous foes. It can be a positive situation or a negative one, or there could be a chance of both within one situation. Both kind of outcomes, positive or negative. You could just go into a place and fail a saving roll and die, or something like that. Even so, you never know what to expect. TNT solos can be merciless. But this one I have today is called Tower of Terror, which I assume bears no relation to the Six Flags Great Adventure Twilight Zone ride, in which you plummet. I've never been on this ride, but my understanding is you ride in an elevator and you plummet down to your almost doom, and then it stops. But it had nothing to do with that. This is an adventure written by David Ullery. It is self-published and available on Drive-Thru RPG. This is not an official Flying Buffalo solo adventure for Tunnels and Trolls. It is not part of Ken St. Andre's Trollhalla Press, although this author, David Ullery, does do a lot of illustrations for Ken under that label. I don't know much about this, except I read through the intro, and I learned that you can play it teleport style, which basically means you roll some dice. Usually it's like 3 dice, and you kind of randomly jump into a situation. I've already explained it, but yeah. So I'm gonna read over the intro and go over my character, who I am bringing in from our last few adventures. His name is Bulgar. I will actually spend a little time upgrading him because he has adventure points to spend. You can see he's 164 AP, and he also has, mind my horrible handwriting, or don't mind it, it's huge sapphire worth 1,600 gold, so we can upgrade him a bit. Yeah, so why don't we jump into the book, review the character, upgrade him, and see how we do. Okay, let's flip this baby open. This is not a solo you hear much about, and it is relatively recent, meaning it's from 2012. It is now January 2022, so 10 years later. You could argue that this is not new anymore, but in Tunnels and Trolls time frames, usually you think of the original Flying Buffalo solos from the 70s and 80s as being the old ones, and something from 2012 is relatively new. At least that's how I think of it. So we have Tower of Terror, a Tunnels and Trolls adventure, written and illustrated. He did everything by David A. Ullery. Copyright 2012 by David A. Ullery. Special thanks to the troll god himself, Ken St. Andre. Dedicated to Zachary, Joshua, Nathaniel, and Jared. Maybe they're family members. And right away we I like to always point this out. I'm a little bit of a stickler for spelling. I try to not be a jerk for it. But for some reason in Tunnel and Trolls land, we are plagued with misspellings of the word forward. So it's not forward as in the opposite of backward. If you have some text before the main text, it's called a forward, Foreword. I see this in a lot of solo adventures. Anyway, I will not complain too much about typos. All are welcome to try their luck and prowess in the Tower of Terror. You may take more than one character at a time, but you must multiply each enemy by the number of characters you are taking through. This tunnel is recommended for 2nd to 5th level characters. This is mainly for warriors, but magic users may also go through, but will be limited to the spells that are offered in a particular room. Okay, what they're saying is, it's a common thing with TNT solos that it's a lot harder for them to program all the possible spells that you could cast, so they often say, well, you should just be a warrior or don't expect to use all your magic, essentially. Let's keep going. Zooming in a little bit. For those who have little time and want quick in and out adventure here, there are 16 single adventures available. This is what I call the teleportation part of the game, sort of. By rolling 3d6 and going to that paragraph number. Then simply follow the instructions. Those with more time and in need of some real tunnel trolling or dungeon delving experience and adventure can take what is known as Trip of Terror. To do so, simply go to paragraph 1 and continue on through all 18 adventures. Also, you get more if you go through the whole trip. Instead of just 16, you get 18. All you need is a copy of the Tunnels and Trolls 5.5 rules or higher. So even though this is from 2012, it actually goes even, it goes old school even for 2012 because 7 and, don't quote me on this exactly, but TNT 7 and 7.5 came out, I believe, around 2007-ish, give or take. So this is actually already saying 5.5 or higher. So it's saying, yeah, you can do whatever you want. So I'm playing with Deluxe, which is several years old at this point, but it's still the most recent edition. A few 6-sided dice, 3 or more is best, a pencil, and a character. Good luck and enjoy. And we have the nuts and bolts. I won't go through all of those. If you find any problems with this tunnel, please feel free to email David Ullery at ullery@q.com, and I will address the problem and, if possible, send you an electronic update. Should I complain about the forward? Okay, here's our picture of the tower in question, I presume. Looks like it has a lot of overgrowth. And it doesn't look gigantic. You imagine the Tower of Terror would be like 30 stories high or something. Anyway, let's slide over to the intro. Introduction. You have come to find out for yourself if the tales about the enormous ivy-covered Tower of Terror, also known as the Tower of Ophion, are true. The tower was once the home of a great wizard who was a worshipper of Ophion, the serpent god, and it is all that remains of the religion of Ophion in these parts. Yes, Ophion, or Set, if you will, that old serpent, archdemon of the Hyborians, but god of the Stygians. Once ruler of the world with Eurynomé, I hope I'm saying that right, Eurynomé, before the two of them were cast down by Cronus and Rhea. Ophion has surfaced now and again and gathered followers to him, while in other parts cultists have captured and raised large serpents in their temples and called them Ophion for their unholy worship services. The wizard had his private residence in the upper levels above the ground, and allowed the followers of Ophion to inhabit the lower levels under the ground, where they built an entire temple complex to their serpentine deity. When rebellion ensued, the wizard was killed, and the followers of Ophion withdrew into their tower and sealed off the entrances. That was some 50 years ago. Now, tales speak of the strange and unearthly sounds that issue forth from the tower's depths. Some say everyone inside is dead, and the place is haunted by ghosts, ghouls, and gaunts. Other tales tell of brave or foolish people, you decide, who approach the tower and are never seen again. Yet, despite these tales of terror, the tower is said to possess hidden treasure and secrets to make one wise and endow one with great powers. This is what has drawn you here, of course. This is why you have come to risk your very life and sanity in the bowels of the Tower of Terror. Okay, behold our hero, Olgar, the Midgardian dwarf. This is our character that we have played in a few previous solo adventures. He went through Beyond the Silvered Pane. I shamelessly cheated a little bit. Let's call it bending the rules. When I rolled up this character, he was a specialist in intelligence, and that is called a mastermind. Now, to become a specialist, you must roll triples when you're rolling up the character. And because I rolled triples on intelligence, which you get to add and re-roll, by the way, he is considered a mastermind. Now, playing by the deluxe edition books, playing by the book, you're either a mastermind or a warrior or other type. You are not both. What a mastermind does is he gets to double his intelligence saving rolls. Like if he rolls a 7, then that roll becomes a 14, so he can pass intelligence rolls much better than everyone else. However, it's such a focused and limited skill that I decided I'm going to dual class him, which isn't really a thing. I got Ken's blessing, by the way. It's Ken St. Andre, the maker of this game, one of the main designers, that is. He said, sure, go with it. He always supports making the game your own, doing what you want. So I've decided I have all the skills and talents of a warrior, plus that mastermind bonus. Bulgar is level 2. That is the low end of what is recommended in Tower of Terror. My rule of thumb generally is if a solo adventure says you should be within range X and Y, you want to be closer to Y generally. So if it says you should have between 20 and 50 ads, for example, you probably want to be closer to 50. So I'm on the low end of the spectrum, which doesn't bode super well, but I am going to do a couple upgrades in a moment. Like I mentioned before, I do have a lot of money to spend because I obtained this huge sapphire worth 1,600 gold, and I do have some adventure points to spend to upgrade my attributes. Flavor and kind of story-wise, Bulgar, I made up the story that he was a badass dwarf child, and his friends nicknamed him Bulgar as kind of rearranging the letters in the word Balrog, like he's a really dangerous character to tumble around with, to rough and tumble against. Within the Silver Paint adventure, he obtained an alien metal body, which is it gives him alien metal fists. So even if he does not have a weapon armed, he can do 2 dice with each fist, so a total of 4 dice just by punching, essentially. It became rusty somehow. I have to look up what that means. It probably defined it within that adventure. I don't recall offhand. Attributes-wise, we have 28 strength, which is quite high. Dex 10 is a little bit on the low side. Constitution 19, Charisma 10, Luck 12, Intelligence 24, Wizardry 7. That's fine because he's a warrior. He doesn't cast spells. Speed 12. That makes his ads 16, 99 gold, 90 silver, 164 adventure points to spend momentarily. Talent, Blacksmith and Translator. Anytime I am called to make a saving roll that could reasonably pertain to blacksmithing or translating languages, I can call in my talent to give me a bonus, essentially. Weapons, I have a Trident, which deals 4 dice, and a Misericord, which is a kind of dagger that does 2 dice plus 2. Those are better than my fists each. What I will probably do is try to spend some of this money on upgrading weapons, but one of the problems is my dexterity is limited, right? You want to dual wield in TNT whenever you can, but when you do so, you have to add the requirements of your weapon. So if you have a sword that requires 9 dexterity to use, and you want to use a dagger in conjunction with that, say the dagger requires 5 dexterity, then the total would be 14, which would be too much for this character. So one thing I could do is spend these adventure points to increment dexterity. The cost is always 10 times the number that you want to upgrade to. So if I want to upgrade to 11, that's going to cost me 110 adventure points, and that's pretty much all the upgrade I'm going to be able to do, sadly. But that might be a little bit of a help. I'm going to actually, when I pause recording, I'm going to go through the manual offline and figure out what I upgrade to. What else? He has for armor, Roman helm. He's got this big Roman helm with, I guess, with the crest and all that on his head. And his body, the alien metal body, actually protects for 12 hits, which is quite good. The helm is protective for 2. Gotta do something about this crack that the sheet keeps falling into. You have the Delver's package, which is just a general. It's a package of generally useful stuff for a dungeon delver type, and that is our character. So I will upgrade by spending money and adventure points, and see you in a moment. Okay, so I'm browsing the weapons section in the manual, and I looked up the weapons that I have, which are the Misericord, which is over here. This is a medium standard dagger. It has a dexterity requirement of 3, and combined with that, I was using a Trident, which is over here. Okay, and over here, a Trident is under the category of medium, spear, or lance, and that has a requirement of 8. So I realized that I was cheating a little bit with my dexterity of 10, because 8 plus 3 is 11. So therefore I spent my adventure points to remedy that situation right away, and now I have 11 dexterity. And so now I'm considering what weapons I want to buy. I have 1699 gold. What I thought might be a good thing to do is forget about my Trident and Misericord, and this looks like a good combination to me. I could get, let's see, I could get this Great Axe or Double-Bladed Broadaxe, and that would require 23 strength. I have 28, and 10 dexterity. I have 11 now. And that would be a nice 7 dice, and I could combine that with, over on the dagger side, just one of the smaller daggers, which is right up here, listed right up here. And they require only 1 strength and 1 dexterity. So that's nice to combine them in a dual wield kind of situation, because the requirements are so low and they're so cheap. So 2 dice I would get from using a strange combination of like a pocket knife and this large great axe. And yeah, I always like to, by the way, I think I already mentioned this, but if I don't write on my character sheet that I have like this generic category, like a medium standard dagger, because that's boring, or like a large combat dagger, or whatever, you know. It's good to pick the individual type, the very specific type weapon, because I think that adds a lot more flavor. So I'm going to have, I guess, a poniard, and back over at the axe section. Axes seem appropriate for dwarves, by the way. Let's see. We're going to have Dwarven War Axe seems totally appropriate for a metal dwarf. So yeah, then I'll be able to roll a good 7 dice plus 2 dice is 9 dice. So I like that. And the costs are pretty much nothing compared to my total wealth. I mean, they're not nothing, but you know, I can handle the 133 cost for the axe. And oh, this is actually two-handed, isn't it? What does this diamond mean? There's some of them are 2 diamonds and some of them are 1 diamond. What does that mean? Okay, bear with me while I figure that out. I might have to downgrade to like a heavy axe or a large bludgeon type. Okay, so I've located the definition of the single diamond. So first of all, the double diamond means two-handed, but the single diamond might be used one or two-handed, depending on the user and the particular type of weapon envisioned. What does that mean, really, in terms of game mechanic? I guess it's up to your discretion. I'm a fan of, with Tunnels and Trolls being so deadly, you can err on the side of helping out the player. So I'm going to say I can use this large dwarven axe in one hand as my main weapon, and supplementing that with a little stabby with a tiny dagger. Okay, so with all my wealth, I was able to purchase the Dwarven War Axe as well as the Poniard. Don't mind the cluttered handwriting here, please. And I was able to upgrade them to boot. So I was able to get the Dwarven War Axe to a whopping 7 dice plus 6. A basic Dwarven War Axe just is 7 dice, but I got it forged by a Dwarven smith, and it's made of meteoric iron, and it is well balanced, which all in all adds a lot of cost, but 6 adds as well. And the poniard, I decided to go the other route, and this is made of elvish moon silver. I figure a fine dagger it kind of makes sense as an elvish thing, and that adds +3 to the adds. And if you look at the rule book over here, we have the smith crafting section. If a dwarven smith makes something for you, it increases the cost by 30% and adds 3 adds. I could probably throw this onto the poniard as well. I didn't make any special smith crafting add-on to the poniard. But go over to the next page is more of these kinds of upgrades that you can get. Okay, so over here you can choose the materials. That's where I chose the meteoric iron for the axe and elvish moon silver for the poniard. You can also pay for different kinds of design. I got my Warhammer well balanced, which adds 1 and costs 20% more. And then lastly at the bottom we have enhancements. I did not actually go through with any of these. You can get Fortune Dragonfire. Honestly, I think these percentages should be higher, but it is what it is. Fortune Dragonfire adds 3, and difference in cost is 200%, and virtually indestructible. You can have Forged in Volcanic Fires. That adds 1 and costs 50% more. It could be Cursed, GM's option. And you can have a Legacy Weapon, which would be like part of your origin story. So if you have some special weapon that's part of your character, like deeply part of your story, you can get a legacy weapon. All right, so I've decided to spend another extra 20% of the cost and say that my poniard was crafted by a master swordsmith. So now it's a 2 dice plus 5 poniard. made of elvish moon silver. And I decided to not go with the Dwarven Smith because I feel like the Dwarven Smith would probably not be crafting a little dagger made of elvish material. So, just kind of a little role playing there, as opposed to if I wanted to min max, I would probably just go with the Dwarven Smith. Okay, to continue my shopping spree, I also purchased a crossbow, which does 4 dice. It's a missile weapon and 20 bolts to go with it. Many solo adventurers don't really support missile weapons very well. Like, they don't say, you have a chance to fire a missile weapon. Sometimes they do, though. Just usually they don't. But you could always improvise. You could always imagine you have maybe one chance to fire a missile weapon before a combat. The only thing is, in the deluxe rules, your success depends on the distance and the size of the target. So you have to improvise a lot usually. They don't usually. I've never actually seen, all those things specced out for a combat. Anyway, I also bought some poison or venom, I should say, scorpion venom, which will kind of inhibit the adds or the dexterity of an opponent if I manage to put it on my poniard probably and stab them with the venom-coated poniard. And I also, for kicks, bought a mirror and some lock picks. Now, I don't want to, shop all day, so I'm going to cut it here and start playing the game. I decided that since I have 1,013 gold left, that's kind of a lot. Half of it is stashed somewhere where I'm calling the bank. It could be it's some buried treasure, whatever. And half of it is on me. And that can matter because the game, in the adventure, it might say, you come across a store, you can buy whatever you want that's listed here if you have the money on you. On the other hand, you might run into some ruffians who beat you up and take all the money that's on you. So I say basically, I'm kind of hedging my bets. Half of it is on me and half of it is in the bank. But enough talk. We have to roll 3 dice and turn to the paragraph. That is the situation in this tower that we encounter. Let's do it. Okay, that is an 11. Paragraph 11. You have entered a circular room that has pillars around the perimeter, supporting the ceiling. Beyond them is shadow, while the center of the circular room there is light. You notice, however, a large snakeskin shedding, lying shriveled, torn, and coiled in the lit center of the floor. Molting, huh? You also hear movement, as of something heavy being dragged across the floor, coming somewhere out of the shadows before you. To cast Detect Magic, nope, I can't do that. To leave this room and try another adventure, you must first subtract 1 from your luck and add it to your intelligence. Then, if you are on the trip of terror, go to paragraph 12. Okay, so I'm not on the trip of terror, but it's saying I can subtract 1 from my luck, add it to intelligence, and just skip over to the next paragraph. Okay, but I'm not. I'm on a single adventure. Go to the introduction and roll another room. Okay. It's really giving me a strong chance to leave, to get out of this. A strong opportunity to do so. So I guess it's a bad place, but I don't know. Maybe they do that in every room for all I know. I haven't played this adventure at all. Otherwise, to walk into the lit center of the room to confront whatever else is in there, go to 137. I'm going to go to 137 against my better judgment. As you reach the center of the room, you hear a sibilant female voice say in the common tongue, "Welcome, legged one, to my den." I was hoping there would be a lot of S's because it's sibilant, meaning like hiss-like. So there should be S's, but there's not. And out of the shadowed archway, you see a very tall female emerge and enter the light. She sways from side to side, somewhat hypnotically and provocatively. You notice her well-shaped face, arms, and upper body. Then you see this picture. Then you notice that what you thought was a long, horizontally pleated skirt is actually the underbelly of a snake, and realize that you are facing a Lamia or Nagini, a female Naga. Lamia have the upper body of a human, in this case a female, and instead of legs, they have the lower body of a thick snake. Make a saving roll on intelligence. If you make it, go to 240. If you miss it, go to 256. All right, so I have good intelligence. And I have my mastermind ability, which lets me double my roll. It does not tell me the level of the saving roll, which, okay, so I actually did find it very clearly stated in the intro that if a saving roll's level is not specified, you can assume level 1. So I have to make a 20 minus my intelligence roll. My intelligence is 24. Basically, I fail if I roll a 3, a 2, and a 1. Otherwise, I'm good. Here we go. I saw the 2 first and thought maybe I did fail. It is a 2 and a 4, which is a 6. And I have passed the saving roll. Also, I double that because of my mastermind character type. So paragraph 240. You remember hearing somewhere that you should not make direct eye contact with a Lamia because they can entrance you or even turn you to stone, or they're like a Medusa. It's funny, I actually bought the mirror because I was thinking, what if I run into a Gorgon or a Medusa or something like that? And it was cheap and I had a lot of money to spend. If you have one of the serpent rings of Orpheon, or you can speak the snake language, make another saving roll on IQ. I cannot do those things. I think I neglected to choose languages. You know, it doesn't come up too often, so I usually skip that step. You know what? I might as well evaluate it now. If I can learn Snake, I don't think you can like buy the book. Then that's a thing. In other words, I'll go to the rolling up your languages section of the deluxe TNT manual, and I will determine my languages now that it has come into question. But I don't really think that's in the table in the book. You know, a Lamia or Snake language. But we'll see. I will be right back. Yeah, I did find that there is indeed a Nagas and Lamias language, and I will assume that that constitutes or is similar enough to the Snake language. Although I could say Snake falls under the category of animal languages as well. So I'm going to roll up my languages, and if I happen to get either of those two, animal or Nagas and Lamias, then I guess I could have Snake, but what are the chances that I would have learned Snake ahead of time if I roll animal languages, right? I probably would have chosen something else. So I'm going to say just the Nagas and Lamias language will count. And the way it works is, let's slide over here. You're going to roll once for each 3 points of intelligence over 12. For example, with an IQ of 13, roll once. IQ of 19, roll 3 times for each 3. Okay. I'm trying to think how 13 is 3 points over. I guess it starts at 1. Yeah, I guess that's what it must be. So then basically, once you get to 15, you would roll 2. And once you get to 18, you would roll 3. We'll go with that. Now, I actually have 24 intelligence, which would mean if 18 is 3, then 21 is 4, and 24 would be 5. So I'm going to roll 5 languages. And I'm assuming I know, I don't know, do I know Dwarvish or Common by default? That was never too clear. And it probably says somewhere around here. But it's not even too important right now. What's important now is, do I know Sashara? And the weird thing is, this is one of the few things, maybe the only thing in the entire game that requires percent dice to be rolled. I have to go on a hunt for D10s because I haven't really played a game that uses D10s in a very long time. One of the things I like about Tunnels and Trolls is all you need are these little commonplace D6s. And it's really weird to me that over the years, this language chart has always been a D100 roll. It seems like they could have made it a kind of a 10s and 1s roll where like you have, you know, you roll between 11, maybe this is the 10th digit and this is the ones. This would be a 13 all the way up to 66. I don't know, just my commentary. But let me find a way to roll between 1 and 100. All right, so I've located a single D10. I know I have more somewhere, but I found one, and that's all that matters. I will roll it twice. The first time will be the 10s digit, and then the 1s digit, and I do that whole process, I believe 5 times, we said. So we got an 80. Whoops. You kidding me? I did not BS you. I did not cheat right here. I know that was off camera, but that you can tell I just slid the die over. My first roll was an 85. The 1% chance of getting Nagas and Lamias. I'm actually kind of shocked right now. Wow. Okay. I mean, I figured, well, maybe I could get it among 5 rolls, but probably not. Just boom, 85. Holy crap. Okay, so that is for real. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna write languages on the back. Roll all 5. I'm gonna keep going. I'm so shocked. This is why I love dice, because moments like that happen. Yeah, but stay on. Some people these days they don't like randomness in their games, like in board game stuff. Dice are just fun because when stuff like that happens, it's like holy crap. I don't know. Maybe I'm just silly. Anyway, the next language is going to be 0, 8, which is common. The specific type of common is called Kazni. Next up, 20, 8, which is again Kazni. So I guess we lose that one. And that was number 3. Number 4 is 54, which is Slavic, which is a kind of elven language. We have one more roll, and let's get ogres and giants. 40, 40, which is another kind of common. So I have common Barabar, which again I could just simplify it to common, I suppose, but I have it's from Eastern Reluf, whereas the regular Kazni common is for Western Reluf. Okay, so I know different kinds of common. Okay, so back to our paragraph. It says, if you have one of the serpent rings of Orpheon, or you can speak the snake language, make another saving roll on IQ. If you make it, go to 198. Saving roll on IQ, once again, that would assume level 1, I suppose. And so we just need anything but a 3. That is an 8, which I double to 16 because I am a mastermind. So I pass the roll. You remember that because of the twisted snake ring, you now have the ability to talk the serpent tongue, snake language, forked tongue, or parcel mouth, whatever term you prefer. You hold up the ring and look at it, and the Lamia sees, this is not quite what happens for me. I'm going to replace that. I don't have this ring. In my case, one of my friends who called me Bulgar happened to be a Lamia. I don't know. I ran with a strange crowd, let's say. But she shies back at the sight of the ring and speaks to you in her native snake tongue, which you now understand. I did not know you were one of our god's priests, she hisses. Forgive me, master. Yeah, it's a bit of a stretch because I'm not really showing off her ring, really, but we'll go with it. Maybe she's impressed that I know the language because she never really met any like Naga or Lamia who could actually speak their language. So she thinks I am one of the priests. But now it says, make a saving roll on charisma to respond. I am not so great in charisma, folks. I only have a 10. If you make your saving roll, go to 207. If you miss it, you say something ignorant like, okay, we'll read that when we fail. So we need a 10 or higher. So it's a level 1 charisma saving roll, 20 minus charisma. My charisma is 10, that's why it's a 10 or higher that I need. And of course, doubles will let you add and roll over. And I rolled a 10. I just made it. If you make your saving roll, go to 207. You sweet talk the Lamia, and she invites you to come back with her to her sleeping chambers for a little romance. For a little romance. So, okay. To comply, go to 216. To politely back out, go to 184. To attack her without warning, go to 166. Well, I mean, TNT kind of always has some famously kind of trashy scenes like this. Infamously trashy, we'll say. But you never know. It could be that I turn to stone the moment I, engage with her. But I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to comply at 216. 216. Way to go, snake lover. Add 2 to your dexterity. Oh, cool. I can really use dexterity. I don't know why that added to my dexterity. I guess it was a full body, or at least, involved a lot of hand coordination. And I'm imagining with such a Lamia, you do not use the bottom half of her. I'll just leave it at that. I'm not going to say any more than that. And that, of course, reminds me of a scene from Futurama where there's where Fry meets a mermaid. And you guys can look it up, the Futurama mermaid scene. And he's running away saying, why couldn't it have been one of the mermaids with the fish part on the top and the lady part on the bottom? Anyway, if you're on the trip of terror, go to paragraph 12. I am not. If you're on a single adventure, go to 19. Okay, I guess it means I am done with this tiny Tunnels and Trolls trip, but let's see what it says at paragraph 19. Congratulations, you have overcome your challenge successfully, or at least made it out alive. I made it for sure with a snake lady. You get 100 experience / adventure points and may keep anything you found or earned. Come back again soon. All right, so I've added my 2 dexterity, and because that takes my dexterity over 12, that means I actually get an add, so I have increased my adds to 17. And now I will tack on 100 adventure points for a total of 192. And that is it for today. Bulgar encounters a Lamia, and by really crazy good luck, he happens to know her language. And then he engages in the language of love with Miss Lamia. And that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. And yeah, I'm going to try this adventure again. This was fun. Yeah, so see you next time. Take care. Okay, I just wanted to make a brief addendum to the video you just watched. Basically, when I was rolling up the languages, I neglected a rule, and that is that when you roll on this chart, the Learn the Language chart, you have to make a saving roll to actually learn how to speak and understand the language. That's an IQ saving roll, and a different one for literacy, reading and writing. So we're going to retroactively decide whether or not I can read and write and speak the languages we rolled up, which were Sashara, which is the Naga and Lami's language. That's kind of the important one because it determined the outcome in that last adventure. Common, Kazni and Barabar, those are 2 different dialects of Common, and the Lavic dialect of Elvish. So what I'm going to do is roll for each of them to see if we can speak and understand and read and write each one. If I fail to learn how to speak and understand Sashara, that would, again, really change the outcome of the last adventure. But unfortunately, kind of what's done is done. I'm just going to have to make up some BS that I was able to speak it in that moment. But let's see if I do legitimately obtain that language, which is going to be a challenging roll. It is a level 7 saving roll on intelligence that I'll need to make. So I'm going to go get my dice and make these rolls right now. Okay, I've got my dice. Let's roll. Let's roll them each one in reverse order because to build up the greatest suspense for the most important one, which is Sashara. So first of all, we're going to roll for Elvish Lavic. Let's see. Lavic is over here. To speak it, it's a level 5 saving roll, and to read and write, it's a level 7. So we have let's see here. IQ 24, and because we're a mastermind, we have a special bonus to IQ saving rolls where we can double our roll. That should make life a little bit easier. Let's see what we got though. So again, for Lavic to speak it, that's a level, what did we say, level 5? Yeah. That means it is, I have to count in my head what the roll is for that. 20 is for level 1, then you go up in increments by 5 for each. So that would be a level 40. Not level 40, but 40 minus my intelligence to be able to speak and understand it. And that means I need a 16 or higher, but as always, doubles add and roll over, and I get to double my ultimate roll. So let's see how I do. Sorry, I'm adjusting my chair and stuff. I'm holding the camera today. So let's see, we need 16 or higher. Let's go for it. This is to speak and understand the Elvish tongue of Lavic. It's looking good already. I got a 10, which is doubles, add and roll over. And a 3 on top of that. It's 13. I rolled a 26, so we succeeded. Now I'm going to keep a little tally on some scrap paper for how many adventure points I earned, because this is a lot. because you multiply your roll times the level of the saving roll, right? So I'm going to get that just for that roll, that many adventure points. But next, let's keep rolling. This is for the Elvish one. Read, not read, this is for speak. And over here, read. All right, so we succeeded. We can understand and speak the Elvish tongue, Lavic. And now level 7 saving roll for reading and write. That means it's hard to add it up, but basically it's 20 for L1, 25 for L2, etc. So we determined it was 40 for level 5, and that would mean for 7 it's going to be 50 as a target. So 50 minus our intelligence of, what was it again, 24? Let me just verify. Got too much junk around here. Again, 24 IQ or intelligence. So we need a 26 or higher to be able to read and write Elvish. Let's do it. And again, we double. Okay, so as a 10, which is a solid roll ordinarily, but not a 26 even when you multiply it by 2. But we do get 20. I'm assuming, by the way, for adventure point purposes, my doubling factors in. So I'm going to get a lot of adventure points just trying to know these languages. All right, so we do not get to read and write Elvish, but we do get to speak it. Okay, next up is going to be common tongue. We're going to go with Barabar. Barabar is going to be level 2 to speak and level 3 to read write. So Barabar, that was easy. To read and write, we said it was going to be level 3. And therefore, I didn't even say what it was before the target number because it was so low. But this time it's going to be 30 minus 24. Oh, and I got an auto fail. The one auto fail number that you can roll in this game is a 2 and a 1. So that's a fail, but I get 6 times 3. Because I rolled a natural 3. Next up on the agenda, Kazni common. That is the most common of the common, as I understand it. And that's an easy one to roll. Level 1 saving roll to speak, and level 2 for literacy. Wow, get some pretty good rolls overall, except for that 3. So we're going to say that's 22 times 1, and a pass. And to read and write, 7, which becomes 14, and we pass that roll as well. Okay, Sashara. The language of Nagas and Lamias. A whopping level 7 saving roll is needed if I am to successfully woo her, as we did. So we're retroactively checking if that could have happened. 50 is the target number for a level 7 saving roll. Subtract my IQ of 24 from that, and I need a 26 or higher. Because I'm a mastermind, I can double that roll. All in all, I need a 13 or higher, which requires doubles. Hey, that's a start. Okay. So now that's a 2. It's not the best double I could have rolled, but it makes it possible. I need now an 11 or higher. Can I roll an 11 or higher? Holy crap. These dice today. All right, so I did it. A 13. I got exactly what I needed. 13 doubles to 26. And that is times 7, so I'm getting a lot of adventure points just from learning the languages retroactively. That is a pass, but can I read and write with these snake-like creatures? I don't think that's going to happen. But let's see, you never know. Level 10 means 55 is level 8, so 60 is 9, and therefore 65 is the target for level 10. 65 minus my intelligence of 24 takes me to needing a 51 or higher on 2 dice. Oh, that's before the doubling, right? So because I'm a mastermind, that means I basically need a 26 or higher. It's doable, not likely. If I can do this, this will be... I will, like, I'm kind of amazed at how the dice have turned out. But we'll see what happens now. I'm not going to get too excited because this will probably be a horrible 3 again or something. Let's see what happens. Okay, that's an 11. I failed, but a valiant attempt, I suppose. And that is a lot of adventure points. Attempting to read and write. All right, so I'm going to say that I did it. I was able to woo the snake lady, and we had a nice romp, and I gained dexterity in the process. Okay, one more thing before we depart. Here it's a little chart I made up of my own. It is Mark Rins, that's me, learning a language table. It uses 3d6, and it's a digit style roll. Now, if you just watched the earlier part of the video when I was rolling d10s to roll up a language, I don't really like that because this is a d6 only game pretty much. So why do we have a rule in the book that requires d10s or a d100? So I basically redid the whole chart and I replaced the d10s with 3d6 in which each die represents a single digit. So your roll can be somewhere between 111 and 666. The number of the beast. Anyway, so let me show you how this works. First of all, everything is intact from the original chart. And the probabilities I've worked out kind of painstakingly to be extremely close to the originals. And I have all the math for that if anybody wants to see. But if you want to just grab this PDF of this chart, I will link to it in the description to this video. So hopefully you can just download that. I'll put it on something like Dropbox or Google Drive. I don't know which. Doesn't really matter much. But yeah, the probabilities are very similar because here's a little bit of math lesson. When you have 3d6, there are 6 to the third possibilities, which comes out to 216, which basically means each outcome maps to something very close to 0.5%. So the original table, which is right here, everything is in terms of percent. So all you really need to do is say every 2 values on this chart adds up to 1%. And if there are several of them together, like there's 30 in the case of common Kasny, then there's going to be a bit of an error because that, it's not exactly 0.5% per outcome. So, I adjusted accordingly, long story short. So why don't we demonstrate what a roll on this chart would look like. Okay, so what you need, there's some weird blue stuff on this die, but that's okay. What you need are 3 dice of different color or different sizes, or you can just roll 1 die 3 times. So let's use different colors. I will say red is the hundreds place, black is the tens, and white is the ones. So you simply roll. And this was a 153. So you look up on the chart, and 153 falls squarely in the common Kasny range. So we rolled a common Kasny, which is just like rolling between 1 and 30 on the original chart. So you're going to roll a lot of common Kasnys. And again, I tried to keep the probabilities very close. And then probably belaboring the obvious, but you could also roll 3 different sizes, which maybe it's a little easier because I actually had a little bit of trouble remembering if I made, if I designated the red die as 100 or the black die or whatever. So this one would be easier, perhaps, although I have quite a small example of the smallest die here. I actually bought a pack of these really micro dice ones just on a whim. I don't really use them ever. But yeah, so the large die would be hundreds. The middle-sized die represents the tens place, and the tiny die is the ones. So another example, here I rolled a 446, and I just look up over here. 446 to 451 is Zell, which are the fire dwarves. It's the fire dwarves language, who live in Zor. And lastly, again, it's probably very obvious, but, maybe it's a pain to find, dice of different colors or different sizes. You can just roll 1 die 3 times. So this is a 652, which falls towards the bottom. It is an animal language, 652. And by the way, I don't remember if I mentioned this, but I applied my own editorial stroke to this chart, and I added wizard speech. There's 2 possible outcomes from wizard speech, which is about a 1% chance of it occurring. And if you don't know, wizard speech is a telepathic ability that bridges all language barriers. And that was in 5th edition. I used to like it a lot when I would rarely, on rare occasion, it was fun to roll kind of that superpower that is wizard speech. So I added it back. It is not on the deluxe chart, although it is mentioned that you could have wizard speech if you want, like if your GM allows it, I guess. And I added one final result, which is 666. Choose any result on this table. So that is about it. Again, I have linked the PDF for this chart in the description, so you can use this yourself if you don't want to use the D10s that are required by the chart in the book. Ken St. Andre liked an earlier revision of this chart. I think it's even better now. But he said it was really good and that he would actually replace this D10 chart with my custom chart if he could at this point. So yeah, I think it works out pretty nicely. I think it's nice. I'm going to actually just stick it in my book and use it. I'll probably just trim the margins so it'll fit a little better. And yeah, and we have determined that Mr. Bolgar, the Midgardian dwarf who has a metal body and he is a mastermind warrior, he actually has legitimately learned how to speak Lamia, and his encounter with the Lamia in Tower of Terror was totally legit. It was totally legit. But that's it for now, guys. I will record another episode of a Tiny Tunnels and Trolls trip soon, and I will re-enter the Tower of Terror and see what other horrible things await us. Maybe we'll have sex with a pretty dog lady next time. All right, that's all, guys. Take care.